Did you know that 11% of the world's billionaires are Jewish? And more than 20% of the Nobel Prizes have gone to Jews. In the United States, half of all billionaires are also Jewish. In fact, the richest man in American history was Jewish, an oil tycoon who gave rise to the Rockefeller fortune. If you think that Jews have never had an influence in Europe, the richest continent in the world, you're wrong. For nearly 200 years, a Jewish dynasty shaped the economy and even influenced the politics of several European countries. Now, speaking of Brazil, we've never had many Jews among the richest, with one famous exception, Joseph Safra, who died in 2020 at the age of 82. Today, the richest man in Brazil is João Paulo Lemann, but second place goes to Eduardo Saverin, co-founder of Facebook. That's right, one of the creators of the world's largest social network is Jewish. Facebook has an incredible 2,900,000,000 users, followed by YouTube, 2,500,000,000, WhatsApp, 2 billion, Instagram, 1,400,000,000, and other giants such as WeChat and TikTok. Of the 7 largest social networks, 4 belong to Meta, formerly Facebook, led by Mark Zuckerberg. And yes, he's Jewish too. But Zuckerberg is not the richest person in the world. That title goes to Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who is also Jewish. Of course, depending on the day, he vies for the top spot with Elon Musk, who, contrary to what some say, is not of Jewish descent. This kind of comparison feeds the idea that every Jew is rich. Is this true? To understand, you need to study the history and secrets of Jewish prosperity. A good place to start is Dr. Leon's The Secret of Jewish Prosperity. The book explores the essence of this mentality, the basis, the divine promise to Abraham when God said, "I will make of you a great nation." This spiritual connection is profound. But does that mean that all Jews are rich? Of course not. Only a very small fraction of the world's population is Jewish, around 0.002%. Compared to the number of Jewish millionaires and billionaires, it's impressive. They are, in fact, an extremely prosperous people. But what's the secret? Do you have to be Jewish to prosper? The answer lies in their mentality and the way they deal with adversity. For centuries in Europe, Jews were not allowed to own land or property. Many lived in extreme poverty, but this led them to reinvent themselves. In the cities, they started lending money and created what we know today as banks. Here in Brazil, many Jews came to escape poverty in Europe. Without complaining or settling, they rolled up their sleeves and worked hard to start over. This is where the Jewish mentality comes from, the idea that you are responsible for your life and the changes you want. If something isn't going well, you have to confront it. If you're enjoying this content so far, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. I'm preparing a series of videos that will transform your financial life, and you can't miss them. Prosperity, after all, isn't just about money. It's the balance between your emotions, your financial life, and your purpose. What you don't resolve in your mind, your body turns into illness. Loving yourself and being grateful is essential. And remember, nobody gets rich on a salary alone. The secret lies in the value you add to what you do. Do you want to get rich? It's not about working harder. It's about creating more value. After all, those who never try never grow. And in the end, the truly rich are those who are satisfied with what they have. You achieve financial freedom when your earnings exceed your expenses through income that doesn't depend on your direct work, such as rents and investments. Want to live better? Then increase your independent income. One of the secrets to prosperity is to never work alone. Look for partnerships. Remember, the bigger your ego, the further away you are from prosperity. In motivational talks, we always hear, "Work at what you love, and you'll never have to work again." But the truth is that very few people manage to do this and still be rich or happy. Turning a hobby into a profession can turn something you used to love into a boring obligation. It's like they say, work at what you love, and soon you'll have nothing left to love. Now we're going to talk about discovering the purpose of life, but you may not like what you hear. If you wait for the meaning of life, you may end up without enough time to live it meaningfully. Don't wait for things to happen. Make them happen. Write down what you want to achieve in 20 years. Then think further. What do you want to leave the world in 100 or 200 years? That's your legacy, your purpose in life. It all depends on how you think. Clear goals and focus are indispensable. Our subconscious mind controls 95% of the way we see the world. If you grew up hearing that all work is hard and all rich people are unfair, you'll carry that around with you. Your mind rejects the idea of wealth because it unconsciously associates it with something bad. So how do you change this mindset? The first step is to identify your limiting beliefs. Write them all down and then read aloud phrases like, I can become rich. I can transform my reality. I can make my dreams come true. Above all, stop saying, God willing. He already does. Now it's your turn to act. If you never try, you'll never make a mistake, but you'll never get anywhere either. What's missing is a plan of action. That's why I came up with the ABC plan. Get off your ass. Write down what you need to do, set priorities, seek out mentors, and learn from those who already have experience. Stop, breathe, and assess the situation. Sometimes, the more you try to run away from a problem, the more it chases you, like a dog. Stop running. Face it. Above all, stop complaining. No more mimimi. Your biggest regrets won't come from the things you tried and got wrong, but from the things you didn't even try for fear of failure. Live intensely all the good that life has to offer. Love, peace, and happiness. Love yourself. Those who love themselves can also love others. What have we learned so far? Study entrepreneurship. Assess the risks and look for partnerships. The way you manage your business reflects the way you manage your own life. Life is full of choices, and you need to have the courage to make them. Face your challenges, both internal and external, because the greatest investment you can make is in your own life. After reading about it, I still wanted more. That's when I heard about Jewish prosperity through Tiago Negro. I decided to watch his talk, My Story with God, and it had a profound impact on me. He started studying Jewish prosperity to understand how to make more money, but 2 years later, he ended up focusing on the riches of heaven. At first, he was looking for earthly wealth, but he found himself in something greater. After all, the richest man of all time, Solomon, left a legacy of wisdom that is still in the Bible. At first, Tiago Negro, known as Primo Rico, was skeptical about God. He decided to ask for a sign, saying that if God really existed, he would show him something in 7 days. But the 7 days passed, and nothing happened. On the 8th day, something extraordinary happened. A person prayed for him and said things that only Tiago himself knew. It was then that God answered, and for 2 reasons. Firstly, to show that he exists, and secondly, to prove that everything happens in his time. A few days later, another person prayed for Tiago, saying exactly the same words, confirming the experience. He even recorded the moment and played the audio in his lecture. After that, Tiago decided to get baptized. Although I found this story inspiring, for me it was just a conversion journey and not what I was looking for. Since Tiago Negro popularized the idea that Jews are prosperous, I wanted to hear his explanation of why some people are successful and others are not. He addresses this in his book, The Wealth Code. In this book, Tiago studied Olympic champions, Nobel Prize winners, billionaires, and great intellectuals to understand what they have in common. But it's worth remembering that he doesn't just talk about Jews. The focus is on success in general. Many people have grown up believing that having money is a bad thing and judge others by what they have rather than who they are. Money is actually a tool, not the end goal. Without money, you can't make your dreams come true, but money alone isn't enough either. Being rich isn't about working around the clock. It's about having resources before you spend them. That's why thinking like a rich person is essential to becoming one. While most people work 8, 10, or 12 hours a day to earn money, few spend even 1 hour a month learning what to do with it. This mentality of despising the rich and at the same time desiring wealth is contradictory. After all, how can you become something you despise? This also affects the perception of entrepreneurship, which is often seen as exploitation. But it is precisely entrepreneurship that creates jobs and boosts the economy. When a country taxes its companies too much, it stifles the generation of work and wealth. Generosity and gratitude, on the other hand, open doors. The more you give, the more you receive. Another important point is to accept that mistakes will happen. Making mistakes is part of the journey. Failure, on the other hand, is giving up. Arthur Moreira Lima, a famous pianist, once said to a fan, "I gave my life to play like this." This phrase shows that success requires dedication. Books like The Secret of Jewish Prosperity and The Wealth Code end up conveying the same message, but in different ways. There is no secret exclusive to Jews. What billionaires do is simple. They apply basic economic principles, such as compound interest and spending less than they earn. Now think of the United States, the world's greatest economic power. There, 80% of the richest people are entrepreneurs. This shows that the secret of American prosperity is entrepreneurship. All the billionaires are entrepreneurs or businessmen who are nothing more than entrepreneurs on a different scale. Speaking of wealth, compound interest is a powerful tool. Imagine you can double your money every day and you start with just one real. It sounds impossible, but follow the reasoning. On the first day, you have 1 real. On the second, 2 reais. On the third, 4 reais. Then 8 reais, 16 reais, 32 reais, 64 reais, 128 reais, 256 reais, 512 reais, 1,024 reais, 2,048 reais, 4,096 reais, 8,192 reais, 16,384 reais, 32,768 reais, 65,536 reais, 131,072 reais, 264,144 reais, 524,288 reais, and finally 1,048,576 reais. In 21 trades, 1 real becomes a million. If we think of the stock exchange's working days, this could happen in a month. The most curious thing about the example of multiplying 1 real to 1 million is that it also works for larger numbers. From 1 million to 2 million, or from 1 billion to 1 trillion, you would follow the same rhythm in 21 operations, or about a month. Now think, starting with just 1 real, in 3 months you could reach 1 trillion if you had a strategy to make 100% a day. It sounds surreal, but it's an exercise in how compound interest works exponentially. Tiago Fish, for example, once told how he had a Galaxy S4 with a broken screen and 500,000 reais in his account. He didn't change his phone because he already understood that getting rich isn't about spending, but about earning more than you spend. Luis Bassi, the largest individual investor on the Brazilian stock exchange, reinvested 100% of his earnings until he had accumulated 360 million in invested capital. And Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of all time, only began to see his fortune grow exponentially after the age of 56. Now think about it. If you turn $1 into $1,000 in a month, nobody cares. But if you turn 1 million into 1 billion, everyone calls you a genius. And the most interesting thing, the return was exactly the same. What changed was the size of the initial capital. This principle is well understood both in Silicon Valley and among Jews. But why do Jews have a reputation for being rich? The answer lies in the combination of a small, close-knit community that always supports each other. Of course, there are many poor Jews, but it only takes a few to stand out to create the perception that everyone is rich. Something similar happens with the Arabs. They don't prosper because of Allah, but because of the oil and natural gas reserves they have discovered. Most Arabs are extremely poor, but the wealth of the Saudi family gives the impression that everyone shares in this fortune. So not all Arabs are rich, just as not all Jews are. And when we talk about some, the numbers among Arabs are even lower than among Jews. The fame of Jews is amplified by iconic families such as the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, who have gigantic fortunes and indirectly influence the global economy. These families help create the idea that Jews control the world, but in reality, we are talking about exceptions within the community. If you've made it this far in the video, comment, "I stayed until the end." When I see that comment, I'll be happy to reply, because I'll know that you're on the right track to becoming a millionaire soon and that you stuck with me to the end. And now, on your screen, there's an incredible video that I've prepared especially for you. I'm sure it will add a lot of value for you, so click on it and go watch it right now. Do it for yourself and for your future. See you soon.